it's too far gone. Well, you know, me standing here is proof that I didn't die and I recovered. But I was very weak, and I was like, they were still pumping me full of this antibiotics for weeks on end. And this woman kept coming up to the hospital. And I want to say at this stage that because we didn't have a Christian background, I didn't know not zip about the Bible. No one had talked to us about Jesus, nothing. I knew the word Jesus, but it meant nothing. And she come up to the hospital. She was a Christian. I didn't know that. And before I'd done all this, I used to drive past churches on a Sunday morning and see people going into churches and become irritated by it, thinking, what a bunch of idiots. Why are you crazy nutters? You're wasting your time. And I drove off, you know, past the church. But it used to irritate me that people could occupy their time on a Sunday morning or an evening in the week and go to church. Crazy, I thought. Well, anyway, this woman come up to the hospital and she kept giving me these little things with writing on and cards and stuff about God and that. And I thought, oh no, that's a nutter. A nutter's coming to see me in hospital. So I used to get these things and I used to thank you very much and put them to the side like that. And she wouldn't leave it alone. And I told her, don't keep bringing me this crap, because if there was a God, I wouldn't be in here. Don't, you know, I appreciate what you've done for me, but don't do this to me, okay? I don't want to know. She kept doing it. She kept bringing them up, and I got annoyed with her. One time I got annoyed with her. She brought all this crap up, and I'd got a big pile of it like that by now. And I went, you see this crap? I said, you take all this, and you get out. I threw them at her. I said, get out. And I swore at her, get out of this hospital. Tubes all over me. Get out, you crazy woman. And she ran out of the hospital crying and didn't come back. And I remember thinking, thank God she's gone. Well, I didn't say thank God she's gone, but I said, I'd say thank God now, but I just thought, great, she's gone. So when I come out of hospital, I was rehabilitating, and she'd moved in next door to me, okay? And she was a pretty lady, you know what I mean? So you used to knock on the door and say, you want a cup of tea? I went, yeah. When we sat in the garden, we had a cup of tea. And she used to bang on about a church family. And I'm thinking, oh, where's she going with this? You know? And I warned her a few times, I don't want to know. And she always used to say, well, I'm going to church Sunday to my church family. I went, yeah, see you later. Ta-ra, off you go. And in one Sunday, she painted a picture for me. Not an imaginary picture. About if I went to church with her, you know, she'd cook me a lovely dinner and all the rest of it. And I'm thinking, there's two things here. If I went to church with her, I'm going to get a nice Sunday roast dinner. Plus, I can go down there and tell them idiots what a bunch of nutters they are. So I went, all right, I'll go to church with you. She went, really? I went, yeah, go to church. So we went on a Sunday morning, and I walked through these doors. I felt so uncomfortable. And there's people coming up to me, and they're shaking my hand as though I'm their long-lost friend. I'm going, hey, how'd you do, you nutter, and all the rest of it. So we went into the hall, and we sat on the left of the church, and I was on the end, and she was sat in there. And I felt very, very uncomfortable in there. And then the minister come out. Now, the minister was like, he had black spiky hair and an earring. Well, where I come from in London, guys didn't wear earrings. And I was like slightly homophobic, if you like, in them days. And I leant across to her and I said, you see this guy you're listening to every Sunday? He's queer, look at him, out loud. And she's saying, shush, shush, shush. So anyway, I thought, all right, I'll shush and see what he's got to say, because another thing in London, we where I come from anyway, we believe that if people say enough and speak enough and you listen to them, they give themselves away by what they say. So I'll give him the benefit of doubt, let him speak. So he's speaking away, and I'm sat there with folded arms. I'm thinking, yeah, go on. And then he kept talking and talking, and there was a strange feeling deep within me that it seemed to make a certain sort of sense. But I dismissed it. Well, anyway, he'd finished what he had to say, and she went and had a chinwag and a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and biscuit, and our biscuit is not what you call biscuit, it's a cookie in England. So I went out and I sat on the wall and I couldn't get out of my head. Why did that seem to make sense? But I dismissed it again. She came out, she said, what do you reckon on that then? I said, well, what do you mean what do I reckon on it? She said, would you come back? I said, yeah, I'd come back just to prove how stupid you are and how misguided you are. So I left it a few weeks, and sporadically I came back to church because I wanted to prove this guy wrong. I don't care who he was with the spiky hair and the earring. I just wanted to prove him wrong and how misguided all these people were. So he kept saying these things, and there was lots of questions in my head, and I wanted to confront him, but he was talking to everybody. And then this one guy, his name was Robbie Griffiths in the church, he went, John, he said, you must have lots of questions now. I went, yeah, I've got lots of questions. Why'd you say that? He said, well, why don't you do an alpha group? I said, what's alpha? And he said, well, alpha's a thing where you go into groups and you get to put all those questions to all these people. I went, oh, wow, yeah, put me down for that. So I signed up for the alpha group, right? And it was on a Monday night. And I went in the alpha group and I asked question after question. I created havoc in the alpha group, you know. And we'd have these big discussions, and then I'd go home and I'd walk about the room and I'm thinking, why do they think this? Why do they think that? I've got them. They won't be able to answer that. We went through the whole book, not the Bible, but like the suffering. You know, if there's a loving God, why is there hell and all the rest of it? And some of my questions were being answered, but I didn't care to admit it at that particular time. But I'd go back the next week, and then we'd have another session, and there was raised voices, and again, I'd come back the next week. Well, after a while, I realised that these people that I was seeing every week weren't total nutters. They wasn't friends, but they was associates. Okay, and they mentioned something about the Holy Spirit weekend. And again, I said, well, you know, Holy Spirit weekend, what's that? Well, you know, we go away and we just talk what we're doing here, but in a different surrounding. I went, all right. So I went on the 19th of October 2002. It was a place called Mulberry House in Essex. And the guy, his name was Gareth Evans, was speaking about Alpha, and he'd done his speak, and we watched Nicky Gumbel on the videos. And he said, right, the time's getting on now. He said, it's 9 o'clock. He said, the time is your own now. If you want to go back to your room or do whatever you want. So I was looking around, and everybody else was going off chatting, and I felt strange. I don't know what it was. I just felt strange. I dismissed it. And what I'm about to tell you happened as I'm standing before you today. Okay? The feeling come back to me, and I found myself getting up and going to the side of this room, lying on the floor and crying, not sobbing, but just water coming out my eyes. And I looked up. I was lying on the floor. I looked up, and the sky was, it was dark. It was 9 o'clock at night. And then it went brilliant, brilliant blue sky with clouds in the sky, and then it went dark again. And then what I saw in that dark sky was these temples, as far as you could see. I could see it now. As far as the eye could see was these temples. And after a while, beside the temples, a face appeared of Jesus, or how I perceived Jesus to be. You know, we're all made in his image. Then my arms started to rise up in front of me. And as if no little voices in my head, as if God was saying, try to pull your arms down. I tried. You know, all the guys in here that lift weights. I was a strong guy then, back in 2002. I tried to pull my arms down. They would not come down. And the face was smiling at me. And then, as my arms was up there, something held onto this hand here. No, I didn't see no pictures of hands, nothing holding my hand. It was just a definite sensation, as if I was grabbing hold of one of your hands now, just holding onto it and smiling. I was like that for 2 hours on the ground.